Hi guys, welcome to our COACHING Biology Academy. Today, let us take up another question based on the diagram in the circulatory system, particularly on ECG. So we are proceeding with the diagrammatic questions based on the diagrams. In that series, today let us take up a question on ECG that comes under the circulatory system. So this is the diagram in the NEET question paper. This is the diagram QRS T Waves, and here is the question. Option number 1, P is caused by atrial repolarization. So P is caused by atrial repolarization. Option number 2, Q when present shows myocardial ischemia. Third option, this QRS complex is due to the time taken by impulse from sino-auricular node to AV node. Option number 4, the end of the T wave marks the end of systole. So we have to find out the right option. For that we have to know the basic things about the ECG. You must know 3 words: polarization, depolarization and repolarization. So what do you mean by polarization? So polarization, that means the positive and negative charges in and out of the heart membrane are equal. That is called polarized stage. So plus and minus charges are equal on both the sides of the heart muscle cell. Resting stage. Repolarization, or before that depolarization. That means there is a shift in the positive charges. There will be more positive charge inside the heart muscle cell. And then third, that means depolarization means you will have more positive charge inside the cell and less negative charge on the outside of the muscle cell wall, heart muscle cell wall. Third, repolarization, that is the reversal of the polarized stage. That leads to relaxation or diastole. Depolarization leads to contraction or systole, whereas this repolarization leads to the relaxation or diastole. So these 3 things you must know about this ECG. Now let us come to the QRS T waves. So this is the baseline of ECG. You can see P, R and T are above the baseline. So these waves are called as positive waves. P, R and T are positive waves since they are above the baseline. Q and S are below the baseline, so they are called as the negative waves. Right. P wave represents atrial depolarization. I told you what is depolarization, contraction or systole. So P wave induces atrial depolarization that leads to atrial contraction or atrial systole. That is caused by the sino-auricular node that is present in the right atrium, SA node, that is called as the pacemaker or heart of hearts. Number 2, QRS complex represents, this is the QRS complex, represents the ventricular depolarization. That means ventricular contraction. So ventricle begins to contract. That is caused by the AV node. That is caused by the atrioventricular node. In the QRS complex, this Q represents depolarization of the interventricular septum. So QRS complex represents ventricular depolarization, ventricular contraction. wherein particularly Q represents the depolarization of the interventricular septum, the septum between the two ventricles. R represents the depolarization of the ventricle, whole ventricle. S represents the depolarization of the base of the ventricle. This is about the QRS complex. So one QRS complex is equal to one pulse, that is one heartbeat. So one QRS complex time is one heartbeat. So by taking the QRS complex for a particular time, we can calculate the heartbeat of a person. Then coming to T wave, this is the T wave, dome shape T wave, that represents the ventricular repolarization. So ventricle repolarizes to go for polarized stage. So T wave represents the ventricular repolarization, ventricular repolarization. So I repeat, P wave represents atrial depolarization, atrial contraction or atrial systole. QRS complex represents the ventricular depolarization or ventricular contraction. T wave represents the ventricular repolarization. Now, if you take the length of the P wave, it should be normal condition, below that is shorter than, it should be below than 2.5 mm. Likewise, we take the time interval of PR time interval, that should be 0.12 to 0.20 second in normal condition. If we take the QRS time, that should be 0.06 to 0.12 second in normal condition. These are the normal ECG conditions. Likewise, if you take the rhythm, if heart rhythm is regular or irregular, how will you find out? If the QRS complex, the distance between the QRS complexes are equal, then the heart rhythm is normal. The heart rhythm is regular. If the distance between the QRS complexes are different or unequal, then the rhythm is irregular, heart rhythm is irregular. So these things also you must know. Then coming to the abnormalities, this is the PQ segment. Number one, if there is enlarged P, if the graph shows enlarged P, if the P segment is enlarged, the PQ segment is enlarged, that means atrium is enlarged, that indicates the enlargement of the atrium. Number two, atrial tissue damage, there is an atrial tissue damage has taken place, that means no proper blood supply to the atria. Third, it indicates the disease called ischemia. What do you mean by ischemia? This is the coronary artery damage. The blood vessel taking blood to the heart is called as the coronary artery. If that coronary artery is damaged, that is called ischemia. So if the enlarged PQ segment or enlarged P indicates three symptoms: enlarged atrium, atrial tissue damage and ischemia, that is coronary artery damage. If the R segment is enlarged, that means ventricles are enlarged. The normal condition of the ventricle is somewhat enlarged. Enlarged ST segment, that is the enlarged T segment. If the ST segment is enlarged, the dome is enlarged, T is enlarged, then that indicates heart attack. In the ECG, if the T segment, the ST segment, the T dome is enlarged, that indicates that heart attack has taken place. You can find out the heart attack from the ECG. If there is a depression in the ST segment, if the T dome is depressed, that means that indicates lower oxygen supply to the heart. Heart gets less oxygen supply. And if the elevation of T, if the T segment is elevated, that is the dome-shaped T is elevated, that indicates that this is hyperkalemia. Hyperkalemia. That means, what is hyperkalemia? High potassium level in the blood serum. You get more of potassium in the blood serum. That is called hyperkalemia. So these are all the abnormalities. Now we shall come to the question. So this diagram and explanation you can see on the 11th NCERT book on the page number 286. You can refer. First option, P is caused by atrial repolarization. So here the word repolarization is here. P indicates, I told you, P indicates depolarization, not repolarization. So this option is wrong. Number 2, Q when present shows myocardial ischemia. So I told him ischemia. If the P segment is enlarged, ischemia is seen, not the Q. So this is also wrong. Third option, QRS complex is due to time taken by impulse from SA node to AV node. It's also wrong because this QRS complex is not the time taken by the impulse from SA node to AV node, that is induced by the AV node. This is also wrong. Fourth option, end of T wave marks the end of the systole. Here you can see the T wave represents the ventricular repolarization. So ventricular repolarization. So that means ventricle repolarized to come to the normal polarized stage. So the T represents the ventricular repolarization. That means the systole comes to an end. At the end of T wave, the systole comes to an end. It's ready to start another cycle. So this option is right. This end of systole means this is actually total systole. Atrial and actually ventricular systole here. Actually the whole systole comes to an end at the end of T wave. This you can see, the same sentence you can see in the page number 286 in the 11th NCERT. So I have given it has been given 4 options based on the ECG, and we have arrived at the right answer, the 4th option. So based on this diagram, we have explained polarization, depolarization, repolarization, P wave, QRS complex, T wave, and the abnormalities and the time, etc. Everything we have explained, and also we have taken the right option from this diagram and from the question. So it is the diagram given in the NEET question paper. This is the options given. We have to find out the right answer, and we have arrived at the 4th option, that is the right answer. Also, let us, I hope we have covered 2 or 3 questions each from digestive system, neural coordination, chemical coordination, and circulatory system based on the diagram. So I once again tell you students, 10% of the questions will be based on the textbook diagram. So diagram based questions, the questions may be asked in any form, direct questions or likewise indirect questions, etc. We have covered all these things from these 4 chapters, taking at least 2 examples from each chapter. Let us meet in the next video. Till then, thank you very much.